Salutations, boys and girls and kiddos of all ages, and welcome to another video of Posing Action Figures with Toy the Poser, with me, your host, Toy the Poser. And surely you saw the thumbnail, and of course you know what this video is going to be about. But hey, let's not sit back and jibber-jabber about it. Let's just get on with the show. So behind the camera, I go into giant mode. Whoop, whoop. All right, and here you can see we have the Marvel Legends US Agents ForceWorks version. And yes, we do have a US agent before, not in, and I guess I'll do all the explaining later in a few minutes in the video. But of course, everyone that knows me know that I do not like collecting figures of characters that I've already have. And yes, we have this guy who is John Walker before, but not in this costume. Anywho, as you can see on the he's on the rotating rotator. You got the front, back, and side of him. So let's remove the rotating rotator. And for those who like boxes or need boxes, or man, okay, it's gonna be one of those days where I can't focus on it. So let's try this. All right, there's your barcode, and there's all that wordy stuff at the bottom. Stuff that I should read. Here is the wordy stuff on the back of it, with which we're going to talk about it. And of course, this is a Build-A-Figure wave, so we're building box. Okay. Ultimate Wolverine, that doesn't come with a Build-A-Figure piece, which means that I don't need them. So the first person we're going to be talking about is US Agent, and that's today. Lady Deadpool's next, Psylocke's next after that, and Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, is after that, and after him would be Hawkeye, the Dark Avengers Hawkeye, and after him, Marina. All right, so let's magical poof him out of this and see what this is all about. All right, so magical poof. All right, as you can see here. All right, let me adjust it a little bit more. Myself a little bit more. Anywho, okay, we're gonna put our featured guest here now for a minute and talk about the things he comes with. Okay, and one of them is this pinkish looking translucent shield, and it's a energy based shield that he got right there. Okay, I'm going to do a whole lot of lighting and camera adjusting for a minute, guys. But yeah, so I don't know if my camera's doing us any justice of what this thing look like, or feels like, or resembles, but it's supposed to be like an energy shield. Okay, the two bots are the left arm of box, that comes with an alternate fist that we can just put to the side, and because we won't be needing it for this video. And of course, two alternate hands, a gun trigger hand that he doesn't really need because he doesn't have a gun, or I don't even think he ever used a gun, or I don't know. I'm pretty sure he has, but I don't know. And open hand. Okay, that goes to the side too. And of course, our good friend, the US agent here, who okay, let me go ahead and get this out the way because, yes, we did get a U.S. agent before. Actually, we got a couple of U.S. agents before this one, but I can't remember which one was the first one. But this it was the one that I had, and I look, when we do the whole origin and explanation of who the character is and stuff like that, my little that you can see, you'll know why that you might want to actually keep your duplicates U.S. agent. I don't know, depending on what your collection looks like, or how you like to collect. Of course, that's what it all boils down to. So yes, this was our first John Walker U.S. agent, who once again is out of focus. Okay, let there we go. All right, and this is the costume he was in before this one. But once again, like I said, we'll explain that later. So put him to the side now and bring him back in. Okay, and let's put him in a cold pose. And now, remember, kiddos, heat up your action figures before you pose them. And I am no longer, or I'm going to try my best to no longer try to do cold poses. So we're going to do this. I am going to start trying to bring in my little or heavy duty Ranger heat gun, which is a little bit overkill, but if you put it on low enough and put the character away far enough, hopefully, that'll loosen him up enough without any good damage. So a little heat blast for our good friend, the U.S. agent. Okay. And yeah, let's not bore you with this for a minute. So let's just move on. Okay, that actually took a little longer than I needed it to, but well, a lot loosey-gooseier now. Okay. And I feel a lot more confident doing this. And I should also say that, okay, he's really loose now because his head just popped off. But yeah, see, that's how easy it was to switch out pieces now. Oh wait, is this a separate piece? I think it's glued and keyed in. So yeah, I guess we can demonstrate that. Okay, while we at it. But man, all right. See how easy it is to pop these things on and off now once you heat up your action figures. Okay. And he has butterfly joints, but even after heating them up, he still can't cross his arms. You even have to squeeze them just to even push them together for them to clap. So yeah, I still, for the life of me, I don't get why they just won't cut just a little deep inside the chest so they can cross over, cross their arms over better. However, what I was about to say was that, okay, if you're going to give us the same character over again and repaint or reissue different costumes or something like that, at least put him on the updated, latest and greatest, I guess, body box now, which is what they, I think this is what they did. I think this is the more updated body right now because he has the diaphragm cut plus the ab crunch, although he doesn't have a waist swivel. which I don't know why they took that away, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine for this point. And you see how much of a he can get into a ball, a old tuck and roll, or forward flip or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, I was saying is that yeah, this is the older body of him. No butterfly joints, and I didn't heat him up, so not gonna do that. But he has boot swivel. This one doesn't, and I don't know why. I mean, although you don't really need the human body doesn't cut and swivel right there, but boot swivel does come in handy when you need it when it comes to posing. So my thing is that yeah, if they're gonna have on boots or something like that, don't why not give them the boot swivel, man? But that's neither here nor there. But yes, this guy wasn't. I was happy with this U.S. agent in my collection, but because I would not have gotten this one if I wasn't trying to build the Builder figure box. So this is why we're talking about. And on top of that, yeah, I never did. When I started this YouTube channel, I already had this guy, and so which means that I never did a video or highlighted the U.S. agent before. So this is what we're gonna do. So we're gonna go ahead and put him in a cold pose. Put him on. Well, he's not in the cold. He's been heated up now, so it won't be a cold pose. So we're just gonna put him in a pose and put him on a rotator, and tell you who this guy is. Okay, so let's do that now. All right. So now that we got him on a rotator in a pose, and although he didn't come with the gun, I went and found my Phantom Rider action figure to put a gun in his hand. So yeah, he got a revolver. Okay, but let's get to know who the U.S. agent is and why they decided to put him in a reissue John Walker in a new uniform. Okay, so first appearing in Captain America 323, got a little tongue tied there, and because I can't remember all of his creators, but anyway, in 1986, Jonathan Walker, who I had quite a difficult time finding an unmasked version of himself of, but anywho, Jonathan Walker, when he was a young lad back when he was born in a small town in the state of Georgia, he was one of three kids, and his sister and his older brother, who was in the military and passed away in the military, if I'm not mistaken, but who Jonathan idolized a lot and thought he was, basically a hero, because yes, his brother did die a hero in the military. Oh, and not for nothing, his sister name is Katie. His older brother name is Mike, who was, once again, like I said, in the U.S. Army, and once saved their life when their house caught on fire. But so ever since then, Jonathan idolized his brother. Well, wanting to be just like his war hero older brother, Jonathan joined the U.S. Army and went to I just wanted to say this, Fort Braggs, because that is actually a real place. Okay, but I don't know why they needed to emphasize that, but there you have it. Jonathan joined the U.S. Army too, to be like his war hero brother, and was hoping, basically, I guess, to live up to that same lifestyle. Well, even though Jonathan didn't become the hero that he thought he was, would become in while he was enlisted in the military. Um, Along comes a guy by the name of Curtis Jackson, and if you like hip hop music, no, it's not that Curtis Jackson. This Curtis Jackson goes by the name of a villain named Power Broker. Okay, but that comes a lot later. Curtis Jackson ran a company called Power Broker and Company, or Incorporated, and where it basically tried to reinvent the super soldier serum and needed test subjects to do so. So he got three guys from the military, basically Jonathan and three of Jonathan's friends, which were Hector Lennox, and since we're not gonna do a whole background of them, Hector Lennox, when he got the super soldier serum or what something a version of it, went by the vigilante name of Left Winger. Okay, and Jerome Johnson, who went by the name Right Winger, and yeah, don't ask me what's going on. But anywho, Lamar Joskin, who went by the name of Battlestar, and we're going to talk about him a little later, but also those three, along with Jonathan, who also went by the name the Super Patriot. Okay, all three of those guys ended up, like I said, getting this experimental body enhancement to basically it was the cheaper version of the stuff that Captain America Steve Rogers got. So yeah, so basically the villain Curtis Jackson, aka Power Broker, was trying to reinvent the super soldier serum to make more superpowered beings like or superpowered enhanced human beings like Captain America. But anywho, and some failed, some didn't, and those three guys that I just named was one of the ones that actually made it. So they was going by a vigilante name or team where they were just running around acting like superheroes. Now I can't remember how it happened, but Hector and Jerome, they ended up dying in the process or somehow or the other. However, Lamar and John were still active in being quote unquote knockoff superheroes. Well, long story short, Steve Rogers, Captain America, was given a little ultimatum by the U.S. government that he was, and he felt ethnically, I don't know, how should I say, he wasn't too, he didn't want to go along with it, basically. So Steve Rogers basically went back, returned his Captain America costume and shield, and retired from being Captain America. So basically, we didn't have a Cap in America running around until issue 333, and where in 1987, where everyone was looking for somebody to replace Captain America. Now, and anybody that knows, this is pretty much when they introduced it to John here, and he gladly took up the opportunity to be the new Captain America because he always wanted to be a big time superhero just like Captain America. Also, in that in this deal, they got Lamar Hoskins, and as you can see at the bottom of the of his bio there, he did become the new Bucky. What happened to the old Bucky, the Winter Soldier, or whatever at this time? I don't know, and I don't know if he was running around as the Winter Soldier or Bucky was still being Bucky. I don't know. Other words, what I'm saying is that um, in the next issue of Captain America 334 in 1987, this is when you got John Walker playing Captain America and Lamar as his sidekick, Bucky. And they were doing a pretty good job at being the new Cap and Buck at the time. However, Steve Rogers still wanted to go around fighting crime and standing up for everything that he believed in. So Steve Rogers, the old Captain America, ended up becoming a new superhero, and he got a new costume by another old I guess superhero that loaned him a black costume or whatever. But anyway, Captain Steve Rogers ended up becoming a new superhero by the name of the Captain. Yep, the Captain. I, I, I don't know what was going on back in the 80s, but anywho, but yeah, so Steve Rogers, the old Captain America, is going by a superhero name by the Captain, running around in a new black and red, white, and black costume, but he still had his shield. Okay. And John and Lamar was the new Captain America and Bucky. However, somewhere down the line in all of that, of course, the Captain and Captain America didn't get along too much or too well, or something like that. So it was a big conflict, therefore, and so on. So there was a lot of tension between the two. And Jonathan was basically kind of headstrong and wasn't the best, I guess, person to be kept. He was kind of an a-hole. Let's just, move along with it. So he didn't work out as the new Cap, let's just say. So he stopped being the new Captain of America, and Steve Rogers went back to being the original Captain America. Okay. Oh, and by the way, Lamar, his sidekick, the one that was being Bucky, he went back and got himself a new costume and became a hero by the name of Battlestar. And after his new costume and name change, he no longer wanted to be a sidekick to Captain America. So he just became the Captain America's partner, or John Walker's partner, or whatever. Anywho, I think I'm kind of mixing up the timeline here, but so let's just time skip to. So let's try it like this. Steve Rogers, the old Captain America, was stopped being Captain America. The government was looking for a replacement to be the new Captain America. John Walker became the new Captain America along with his old army buddy Lamar, and they became the new Captain America and Bucky. Steve Rogers still wanted to be a crime fighter, so he came back as in a new costume and called himself the Captain. And although all three of these guys was still quote unquote good guys, they kind of sort of didn't get along, but oh well, they had to work together from time to time. Lamar, the current Bucky at the time, gets a new costume and no longer wants to be a sidekick. calls itself Battlestar, but Jonathan Walker was still running around as the current Captain America. And I think this is, they're doing this whole secret identity thing, so they don't know who's who right now. So Jonathan was still playing the role of Captain America, and doing all the Captain America things like doing press conferences and blah blah blah. Okay. Anywho, long story short, a fight breaks out or a war or they get into it with somebody, and Jonathan, the current Captain America, is presumed dead. But of course, nobody stays dead in comics these days. So back in 354 of Captain America, because Steve Rogers now has returned back as the current Captain America, if I'm not mistaken, scoring up the timeline again. But anyway, Jonathan comes back, but he wears the a version, or they say it's a version, but it's basically the same old costume as when Steve Rogers was running around as the Captain. Well, Jonathan is now the new superhero called the U.S. Agent. And as the U.S. Agent, Jonathan was put in charge, or the team leader of the West Coast Avengers at the time. But eventually, the funding for the West Coast Avengers stopped, and the West Coast Avengers team disassembled or dismantled or stopped working. Jonathan, I guess, kind of depressed or whatever, took his costume and shield and threw it in the Hudson River. But then along came Anthony Tony Stark, better known as the Invincible Iron Man. And Iron Man had a new idea to form an idea to form a new team that could watch over the West Coast, take place of what the West Coast Avengers did. And that team consisted of Wanda Maximoff, better known as the Scarlet Witch, Julia Carpenter, better known as Spider-Girl, or is it woman? One or the other. Simon Williams, better known as Wonder Man, and of course, Tony Stark, Iron Man, who was basically overseeing all of this. However, the Scarlet Witch came up with the idea to say, hey, go get John Walker, and because she felt that he would be a good backbone for this new team. So Tony did just that. Went and got John, gave him a new costume with, new accessories to it, and he still went by the name of the U.S. Agent. But with all those guys together, they became Force Works. And first appearing in issue 1 of Force Works 1 in 1994. And at this point, that's how we got here. John Walker, the U.S. Agent, in this costume. And he eventually goes back to that old costume of the black with the red and white stripes, flag and shield and stuff like that. But no need to get into that. This is where we are now. This is where this story will stop at. Which basically means now we can talk about his power sets, but to be honest with you, it's what you expect. He's technically everything Captain America has. I think with a slight few upgrades or things about him. With that being said, even though Jonathan Walker is technically the same upgrades as Captain America, think he got like a little bit of a booster. He's listed as a better technical fighter than Captain America because he's also been trained by the Taskmaster. But I, you know how comics are, man. That's I guess that's up for debate. However, his costume, his uniform, whatever you want to say, is bulletproof. And let's talk about the shield for a second. Now, you can call it a photon shield or an energy shield. And that's basically exactly what it is. Different people over time have used different versions or the same shield or photon shield throughout the duration of the comics. And yes, they come in different, I guess, shapes and sizes. And mainly, it's like a little device that is voice activated and can extract from a gadget that's worn on the wrist. And even, I think, the Shield, the agents of Shield, or whatever, or some certain people of Shield, use versions of the Shield themselves. So yeah, I mean, it's been passed around and you see different versions of it all the time, but that's basically the cut and dry of the shield itself, the energy or photon shield, I should say. But yeah, nothing spectacular about it. I mean, you can't throw it, or from my understanding, or anything of that nature. It's just handy dandy little photon shield that's easy to carry, and it's voice activated with inside a little gadget on the wrist. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Well, time to size them up. So, representing the 136 scale action figure size, and we have whoop, Herbie from the 2000 Toy Biz Fantastic Four multi pack. And Herbie stands at approximately 2 inches tall, the average 136 scale action figure size. So, representing the 1/18th scale action figure size, we have whoop, the Xenostrike 3-minute project, who we call Waist High Ninja Guy, Gary for short. And Gary stands at approximately 3 3/4 inches tall, the average 1/18th scale action figure size. So, yeah, representing the 1/12 scale action figure size, we have whoop, Stan the Man, my main man, Stan, the Hasbro Marvel Legends Stan Lee action figure, who stands at approximately 6 inches tall, the average 1/12 scale action figure size. So, and as you can see, John is standing almost head and shoulders with him. But just to double check, make sure, representing the 1/10th scale action figure size, we have whoop, the Nada homebody action figure, and that we call Buck, the bigger figure. Oh yeah. And Buck stands at approximately 7 inches tall, the average 1/10th scale action figure size. So, which means that our Wetworks, Force Works U.S. agent stands at, whoop, oh, look like just a click over 6.5 inches tall. Let's double check and see here. All right, let's zoom in. Okay, we're gonna zoom in and see. And yep. I just found out that how I place the camera determines on it. So if I go from the top, he's gonna be at 6.5, or like I said, just a little over 6.5. It's a teeny touch But if I do that, anyway, you get what I mean. Anywho, all right. Basically what I'm saying is that that's technically almost comic book, accurate. So there you go. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And there you have it, kiddos. And that's it. The end of this section of portion of the video, because like I said before, this is a build a figure wave. So check the description below to click on the next video or anything in between to see the next featured action figure in this box build a figure wave line. Oh, and also Mr. Jonathan Walker, U.S. Agent, Captain America, or Super Patriot, or whatever it is you want your name or want to go by. Basically, all I want to say is thank you, and any other man or woman that served in the U.S. military. I want to say to you all, thank you for your service. See you in the next video, guys. Ta-ta for now.